There are so many issues with private games. Security, people getting cheated, people getting robbed. The rake is absurd. I think playing your best is playing such that your earning potential is as high as possible. 2013 to 2017 was kind of a 4-year spiral where I believe now that I was destined to hit a bottom, giving me a lot of shit to wrestle with.
Coach Brad here, and my guest today on the Chasing Poker Greatness podcast is a good friend of mine, the founder of Max Payne Monday and Thirsty Thursday, longtime Hustler Casino Live commentator, Mr. DGAF. He's also a podcaster, a longtime poker grinder, and one of the very few people that I still stay in contact with from my days in live poker. Well over a decade ago, the space that DGAF fills in our community is one that gives raw, unfiltered truth. His perspective of the world of poker, which doesn't always, jive 100% with my own perspective. And even though Billy and I's experience in the world of poker diverge in our opinions as well, we came away from this conversation, as close as ever. I'm really excited to have him on again in the near future. We're going to get into, the rise of the private games, Billy's foray into hosting games at the casino, and just, getting people in like a tractor beam, putting games together, being just a big part of what, Hustler and now Hustler sister casino Lady Luck are doing. We're going to talk about DGAF's poker stream on YouTube and just all the things that have been going on in his life over the past couple of years since the last time he was on Chasing Poker Greatness. And so, without any further ado, I bring to you Mr. DGAF. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Billy, welcome back. It's been a while.
It has been quite a while, maybe a couple of years.
Couple of years, yeah. Life comes at you fast.
It certainly does. It's good to see your handsome face.
Thank you. It's good. It's good to see your beautiful, pretty, vibrant, alluring face as well. And this is going to go on YouTube, right? And there was a time when we first started doing these where nobody got to see your face. You were faceless.
Yeah, I would have preferred that it stayed that way, but it just so happened that I had to start playing on stream, and then at that point, there's no going back.
No, there's not. What do you make of that decision to start playing on stream? Was there anything you would do differently?
No, so I've been on the grind. Like, I've been on the fucking grind for 7 years now, just doing anything I can to climb out of a massive hole that I dug for myself. And it just made sense to play on stream at some point. And at that point, I could no longer be anonymous content creator. The only thing I'm holding on to is wearing sunglasses, so people don't know what my eyes look like.
Yeah, you're like that. You're like Superman. You're Clark Kent right now. Oh no, I guess you're Superman. When you take them off, you're Clark Kent.
Yeah.
Tell me,
sure.
What happened in Hustler? You got the gig, which, by the way, super pumped for you, is an incredible gig, and then something happened. Well, just give me the lowdown.
Sure. So yeah, I got hired by Hustler Casino Live to be a commentator, and that was cool. I had no experience in it, but Ryan Feldman just trusted that I knew the game well enough. I knew people at a poker table well enough, and I was a good enough talker to get the job done. And that was fun. And then that turned into me playing on stream as well. That happens a lot where people will commentate for a while, then the viewers will want to see you actually play on stream. And I knew that meant I could be in some really lucrative games. And I kind of took the ball and ran with it. I not only played on Monday nights, I branded Monday nights, and I handled the lineups, and then I added Thursdays. And I also got sponsored by the casino, Hustler Casino, which is different than Hustler Casino Live. They sponsor my podcast, and I was building games for them on the casino floor. So I was doing a lot there in that building. And, I had a good run. It just, without getting into too much detail, it just became time for me to do my own thing in terms of a live stream, while also continuing to build games on the casino floor. So there's a sister property less than a mile away from the Hustler Casino called Lucky Lady, Larry Flint's Lucky Lady, and it was dormant. And I kind of just went to the general manager and said, I'm interested in doing more hosting work. This is what I'm good at, bringing people to a casino. They said, well, this place down the street has no business, and sure, go for it. See what you can do. And I've kind of just maintained what I have going on the casino floor at Hustler, a 5-5-10 game that goes pretty much every day. And I've really poured all my energy, my hosting energy, into this other place called Larry Flint's Lucky Lady Casino. It's a little smaller, but it's very nice. And a stream was born out of that, and it's called DGAF's Live Poker Show, and it's really fucking cool.
Tell me about hosting. You know, when I see your face, despite its beauty, I wonder, like, what I would have never pegged you as like, oh, I'm gonna be like excel at hosting poker games in a casino. That would not be my read for you. So like, how did you realize that you had a knack for that? Or have you always had kind of a knack for getting people together to play cards?
Well, I haven't always had a knack for it. A lot of people won't believe this, but I used to be like a serious poker pro a long time ago, a standard poker grinder. And I was very good, very studied, and I didn't do much at the table other than pay attention and try and execute. And I won a lot of money, but I kind of got exiled from my casino because I was playing the game as a sport and other players were playing it recreationally. And so I kind of had to move to Vegas. The casino didn't ban me or anything, but the player said, look, like go fish in a bigger pond. And so I went to Vegas, and I just kind of learned that I could play poker differently. I could play it as a social game. I could play each hand worse than I was playing before, but long-term make as much money or more and feel really good doing it. So yeah, at that point, I just opened up my social game, and I became a natural host because I do talk. I'll have drinks, and I'm action. I told people before I started playing on stream that I've played more hands than I've folded, and no one believed me. And then I played on stream, 100 times, and my VPIP was 60%. So if you're action and social, that people don't care that I have tilt issues for sure. I wish I didn't, but I do. But they don't care because they know when they're playing with me, they can double up, they can get stacked. No snipers are allowed, and yeah, I'm a pretty natural fit now to be a poker host.
Tell me how do you feel about, the earlier version of yourself, the players that are trying hard, not necessarily like being bad for the game in the way that like they're berating people, they're fine sociably, but they're trying to be the best poker player that they can be and operate at a high level. Like, just give me your feelings or thoughts on that specific profile.
Okay. I have some pretty specific thoughts. I think if you want to be great at playing hands, if you want to study, and this appeals to many people, as you know, you're very involved with the people who want to learn this. They hire you.
Sure.
That's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's a fit for tournaments because in a tournament, everyone buys in. They can't leave until they bust, right? In a cash game, it's the opposite. They can leave whenever they want. So what is being a really good cash player? Is it playing the hand that's dealt to you incredibly well? Or is it getting people to give you action long-term by playing it suboptimal on purpose? And so I think you have two choices, because you'll see cash players that get really good and don't know how to tone it down, and they just don't get to play in the big games. The ceiling is very low for them. People have figured out during the boom, yeah, you could go snipe big games. You and I used to play in some big games of commerce where some people could come in and give nothing to the game and be very focused. It doesn't mean they're berating people. It doesn't mean they're smug, but they're just not contributing to the social aspect that no longer exists. Those people do not get seats in big games. The big games die if they're public. And so I think I was thinking about your product, and I was wondering if you had anyone that's coaching people up on the soft skills and how, like, the number one skill of getting action. That's what it's all about, right? You've had some of your biggest wins playing against some guys that are multimillionaires, if not billionaires, and that's different than being in the 5-5-10, which is probably the biggest. That's probably the biggest public game going most places, and battling with other really good players, right?
Sure. So restate your question, because I
was wondering if anyone in the coaching field is coaching people on live cash, and not in a X's and O's way, but okay, the first thing you have to do is make the people that have all the money, the disposable income, that are happy to light it on fire as long as they're having fun. The first thing you have to do is be someone they want to play with. And I just didn't know if anyone is coaching that up.
Yeah. So I don't really operate outside of my little bubble, because that's all I have time and energy for, is like my team, my squad that I coach regularly. But I would say that, and we've played together a fair amount, right? And
yeah,
one of my values is being fun to play with, being engaging with other people, asking questions. But it's actually not, or it wasn't. I was never rich enough to be able to feel like I could just play bad, just for the sake of playing suboptimally.
I would challenge you on that.
Really?
Because you don't need to be rich, because the first thing you need to be is in the game.
Sure,
right?
That's the goal. The goal is to be in the game. And I've never had a problem being in any game. Like, the players tend to like me. You know, as we know, like, maybe the most famous whale at Commerce, we became like good friends after playing together. And, you know, I never like played him soft. I never did anything like played badly against him. We played, and I told him, like, yo, when we sit down at the poker table, I'm going to play hard. I'm going to do what I can to play my best. And I tend to give some action. I'm not like, because I just don't think playing like a total nit is actually the best way to play. It's not, you can earn a higher hourly rate by giving action in a wide variety of spots. But like, yeah, it's never, and I'm never hidden that, right? That's always been a part of me, is like, somebody asked me at any poker table, what do you do? I'm a professional poker player. And, you know, I think, you know, I do coach my guys that do play live poker on, we've coached specifically on like higher VPIP strategies that are better for the game, but also good for you as well. So like, that's a thing that we've like actively trained. And then also, like, I would never have anybody on my team that's just like an asshole type person that treats people poorly or makes a game unfun to the point to where like people don't want to play. But yeah, I'm just not entirely convinced that you have to play like atrociously to make a good environment for people to play in.
You don't have to play atrociously. You have to play atrociously pre-flop, maybe.
Sure.
Like, yeah. You have to, like, so if you look at a certain spot with your students, and say it's a tournament where clearly the best play is to 3-bet, right? And so you're going to do that every single time in a tournament, if that's just like the clear play. In a live cash game, when we're talking about playing big, right? Like, beyond the 5-10 level, you're not always going to 3-bet, because if you just 3-bet that guy and he's pissed at you for doing it, you're not going to do it, because if you piss him off, he's going to leave. And so I'm not talking about playing atrociously. I've coined it as playing your B- game in live cash at high stakes is the way to make the money, because people don't want to play against really good players playing their A or A+ game.
And I was just coming out of a podcast. This is a thing it's been weighing on me recently. When I do see, the high stakes stream games, obviously I keep track of them. I've had players play in them. So it's not something that's totally foreign, but this poker's in a weird place right now where my way of thinking used to be like kind of the common way of thinking. And these days it's almost like trying hard is like looked down upon in the poker space. And that is such a wild and weird spot for an industry to be in, where it's like, yeah, I'm going to go to this MMA fight and I hope the dude just fucking laid on the couch for 6 months and gained 100 pounds and can't move or operate. Like, no, you want to see them trained. You want to see them fit. You want to see them battle. And yeah, there is a space for that. Like the super high rollers, I think, are one where you get to see like the best of the best tournament players play against each other. But it's very odd to me, like in the cash game scene, where it's like, oh, like actually no, trying hard, like studying and learning and getting better, and like actually trying is like, yeah, don't do that. You shouldn't try too hard, and you definitely shouldn't advertise that you try too hard. And I've already, I've dug my grave. There's almost, unless I buy a card room and start a live stream myself and put it in it, I don't think there's any chance that I'm getting a seat anywhere. So I don't really give a shit about that angle, regardless. But I do think there should be room for people to feel okay about trying to play a game to the best of their ability.
Yeah, there is. It's tournaments and it's low to mid stakes public games. I'm just talking about people that want to make good money in the live cash arena. That's it. You just can't, because the people with the money don't want to play against people who are trying so much harder than them. They will leave. The game will dry up. People ask why so many games are private now. Why 10, 20 and higher is private anymore? Because they don't survive as public games. They have to, the tryhards, as you're speaking of, they have to be weeded out because the people that the game runs around don't want to be with them. Now, you're thinking back to your experience with Max, and whether you knew it or not, you were sacrificing bits and pieces of EV by talking at the table. If you were just paying closer attention, you would have played a tiny bit better, right?
Probably, sure.
But you might not have been in that game. So then what do you want to do? Like play better at a much smaller game, or play slightly worse, play as a social game. The way I approach it is I try and spew around. I try to not be too aggressive pre-flop because I know that irritates people in terms of just constantly 3-betting and whatnot. And I just try and make good decisions in the big spots. And that's kind of my blueprint for making money in high stakes live cash.
And what about like somebody like Garrett, right? That was like pretty renowned for 3-betting the bejesus out of everybody all the time, right? And he's
the exception. Yeah. People love to challenge themselves against him. They did. I don't know if he's getting any action now. I don't know. Like the cat might be out of the bag. I don't know if people want to like play against someone who's so much better than them and also trying so much harder. I don't see it anymore. He was the exception for a while when he was playing on stream. People love they love to be around him. They love to challenge themselves against him. But if he wasn't playing on stream, if he just went to Commerce and tried to play that big, everyone would be like, "Fuck no, I'm not playing against you."
Yeah, I mean, the public games at Commerce, these games used to run. They used to be a thing before everything kind of privatized. They lasted a long while actually. They lasted longer than the current private game scene has been around. The problem, like the private game scene, like it is what it is, and people can build a fence and only let the specific people in, like if they want, like that's their prerogative, and that seems to be like the best way to do this. But we have these like, I don't know. The structure of things has changed, and maybe it's a function of my old age where I don't like change and the way that things are headed or exist in reality. I don't think that people should not try. And I think that like people should try to be the best that they can be at whatever they endeavor. And yeah, you can play your game in such a way that you sacrifice short-term EV for long-term EV, which is essentially kind of what you're describing, right? You sacrifice short-term for the long-term.
We can define playing your best. I think we should do that.
Sure.
If you think playing your best, or you do think playing your best means playing each hand as well as possible, I think playing your best is playing such that your earning potential is as high as possible.
Sure. I'll buy that.
So
I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I know several really good pros, but they're just capped out at 5'10". Like they're never getting into and so yeah, they can grind and win, and that's cool. But then you also have people that play much worse than them, especially pre-flop, making a lot more money. So then who is the better player?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on your definition of right. Better, right? And there's also we're kind of sidestepping the politics involved too, because like just because you play a lot of hands doesn't mean you auto get an invite or auto get a seat to these games, right? There's still this like behind the scenes politics where there's only so many seats in a stream, they go to so many people, and you've got to be willing to invest and play heavily into that game to get a seat, like in the first place, right?
I don't think it's politics. I mean, in some cases it is, right? Some game runners are pretty selfish and will just then there's a lot of politics involved where you have to do things to appease them. But many game runners just want to please their action players, and so there's no politics. If you're good for the game and you're available and reliable, you're in. Like if you came out, I would get you in a game because I know you're going to talk and be funny and like you're going to go for it. Like a lot of these guys don't run any bluffs. The guys you're talking about, like for a good reason, because it's hard to get bluffs through in live cash games. People don't like folding anything, but the guys that do go for it, that gives some guy the occasional double up with one pair that he never gets from a different grinder, and they like that. And as a gamer, I just listen to my action players. Who do they want in the game with them? And yeah, you can play good, but you have to do other stuff. You have to loan money. It's just you just have to contribute to a very lucrative social game.
That I can live with. I think that makes sense. And I do think, by the way, with all of this said, that the private game idea, the privatization of the higher stakes games came about specifically because of shitheads that you didn't give back. Good. Like they caused this whole thing because they couldn't act like a decent human being and fit in and make people feel good and just give something to the game where everybody felt happy to be there and be a person that people wanted to play with. Like I do fundamentally believe that like people want action. They want to play against people. They want to spend their time playing against people that they like or that they have fun with, right? It's a fun type of thing. And the reason why all this happened is because of all the unfun players that I'm sure everybody here has experienced if they play like 1-2 session at a casino in their lives. Like there's always, a couple of guys that you're just like almost insufferable to play with.
Yeah, the short-sighted nits. They see a seat open up on the left of the action player. They're going to hop over there. It's not 2005 anymore. The action players know exactly what's going on. They don't like it. They're going to leave. And that person's going to be exiled from that scene. So, yeah, those guys did ruin it. It wasn't just a lot of capitalists said, oh, I'm going to steal all these players and privatize this. No, because the people wouldn't have left the casinos if they were having a good time. And now it's getting back to people having a good time at casinos by running private games and giving people a shot. Like, oh, you want to try it? Let's see. Okay, they liked you. They thought you were funny. You can come back. Your action. And another thing that's happening at least in LA, is the structures are changing so that the nits just die. So a
What
lot of the
structures?
games, so a very popular structure that we are running a lot at Lucky Lady is a bounty structure. So a 5-5-10, for instance, 5-5-10. You keep the buy-in kind of small. It's 500 to 2K. You win 2 pots in a row, everyone pays you $25. So you're incentivized to win after you win, and others are playing defense, and it just you can't sit there and snipe. You're gonna get eaten up by the blinds and the bounties. So that's a cool correction. That's a better correction overall than just trying to get the right people. If you get the right structure where only people who are going to get involved can survive, that's better.
Yeah, I agree. That's great, and it reminds me of an app game that I used to play on a while back that always made me wonder, like, why more casinos, card rooms, or poker sites didn't structure a game in such a way where, like, for instance, limping pre-flop is less penalized and playing tight is more penalized. And, the structure that I'm thinking about right now was a 3-blind structure. So, like, call it $2, $5, $10, and everybody antes $2. So, just a 3-blind plus ante to where, like, everybody's getting a better price to limp pre. So, like, you're not, the downside of limping is not as big. And if you just fold, you will not survive. You cannot outrun paying $2 every single hand if you're playing super, super tight. So, like, it actually, like, forces more action. And I think that's actually, maybe the best way to cultivate good games and make sure that the right people are in the games is just disincentivize people from playing like a nit. And
make it unprofitable.
Yeah, make it unprofitable and punish the people who are playing more hands much less. Incentivize playing more hands. I think that's the optimal way to go about it.
Yeah. So that was an online game, obviously.
It was an online game. Right. Yeah, I've never seen it live ever.
The logistics are tough live, trying to collect $2 from everyone, or even if you wanted to have, like, the big blind pay the ante for everybody, people don't want to pay that much when they're the big blind.
Yeah.
But that's
5-10, everybody 5 or something like that, like a really big ante.
Right. Right. So you're seeing that. You're seeing adjustments. The first adjustment was to privatize it. And there are so many issues with private games, not just the politics and the shady game runners, but, like, security.
Sure.
It is a big issue. People getting cheated, people getting robbed. The rake is absurd. There's no one regulating. I've played 2 private games, like, out of casino private games, and both times I just couldn't believe it. Like, the first time I played, Brad, I would raise pre-flop, someone would call, I would bet small on the flop, they would call, and then I'd bet a lot of the turn, which I'd just been doing for a very long time, and they would fold. And I would have the same amount of money I had when I started the hand. And I was just like, what the hell? And like, you chop a big pot and you lost $100, and it's just
I played in a private game in LA. I bought in for 10K. I think it was 5,000. Me and Freddie D got it in pre, like the second or third hand, and we both had aces, right? So we get it in, bought in for 10K, started with 10K. We got back like 9,300 apiece.
Yep.
Like and Freddie just, like, raised hell, and I was like, "What in the fuck just happened?" Like, we just, like, got it in pre with aces, and maybe it was like 9,700. They cut like 600 or 700 out of the pot.
Yep.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it's just people underestimate rake. Quite a bit. Like, they'll say, "Oh, this game's so juicy." What is it? It's a 5, 10, 20 game, 5% up to 150. And you're like, you're gonna rake $150 in a hand?
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the night, the house has all the money. Maybe one guy wins a few thousand, everyone else loses 5. Like, it's just so there are plenty of problems with private games. They're going back to the casinos now, and the casinos are adapting. They're letting people host games, and that's That's what I do. I host some public games and I also host some curated lineups. And just an ugly truth is that I got to keep the snipers out unless the structure will keep them out.
Yeah.
So a standard two blind, like I have a 10-20 no limit game on Sundays, and most people straddle, but there's no ante, there's no bounty. So like a sniper could really just get in there and print for one session.
Sure.
But also just it would ruin my reputation as a game runner if I let one in or let one come back. And so it's very gray. Like I understand players want to get good. I remember when I loved the idea of learning about poker, and I love the X's and O's of it. I understand that. And I think there's a huge place for those people to play, and it's called tournament poker. I think, like, fuck it. You're in a tournament. They're not leaving. Try and kill them every hand, right? It's a competition. You don't try to kill them every hand in a live cash game at a higher level. You try and, as they say in Rounders, you can shear a sheep many times. You can skin them only once. If you're skinning sheep, like I don't care how well you played the hand. You're bad at poker, in my opinion.
All right. What do you mean by like killing them, right? Like that, I guess that's another like definition, sort of, what about like just bluff catching in a huge spot because you just like know that the guy just doesn't have anything? Would you suggest like folding bottom pair or something like that?
No, they like that. I bluff catch with queen high often. I play on ridiculous games.
Yeah, I think they like that too. They like ultimately people like action, and like
they fucking love action.
If you do something weird that you think is like really good but gives a lot of action, then I think people are actually okay with that. What they're not okay with is like lots of tanking and never playing any cards.
Can't tank, can't fold. Like so you're gonna fold a terrible hand to an open, even if you're the big blind and you look down at 70 soft suit and someone opens, like you're probably not defending unless there's very good reason to. But say the guy that opened is down 50K, and if you fold right now, he's gonna get up and leave. I'm fucking defending that, right? And like I'm playing that hand poorly. I don't give a shit because it's giving a little bit back. And this is a tough thing to learn. So I built a show called Max Payne Monday at Hustler Casino Live. It was a pretty popular 10, 20, 40 game. I wasn't the only one building it, but I built the culture of it, having fun, slow rolling, playing fast, having beers. And it was probably the most lucrative 10, 20 game in the world. It played huge. And I had this woman in there who was great. She was very reliable. She would loan people money when they needed it, which is a big part, like just a big part of live high stakes cash. Even people that are billionaires need cash all the time. But one thing she didn't get is when she was up 30K and the other guy is down 15K and he has 15K and she flops that set, when they get to the river, she could just value bet instead of just go for all of it because she knows he can't fold. And so she goes for all of it and wins 50 or 60K on the night, but that guy will never play with her again. That's very common. These guys with all the money are incredibly temperamental, high maintenance,
soft.
He will sure, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah. I'm just saying like that's pretty soft when it's like, right. They went for max value and I paid them off.
But like you just kind of have to govern yourself. Like, well, I'm up 40K in a 10-20 game. Like, do I need to be up 60 or is like 50 okay after I flopped another set? And it's a decision. I'm saying make whatever decision you want, but the reality is if you go for the kill there, and she did, that player will never play with her again. And like, so that's 10K gain in that hand, and how many K lost like in the future?
Yeah, so I see.
That's what I'm speaking to.
yeah, I see the dynamics of it where, where essentially the VIPs were historically powerless have a lot of power in game selection and who they play with and who they don't play with. And, as pros or higher level studied poker players, have to be cognizant of that power that they wield for your own future gain.
Yeah, it's almost like they used to be oblivious, right? You remember when someone would come in, like a very, very, important player would come in and sit down. No joke, people would run from whatever table they're at to lock up a seat. They would run. They would run to lock up a seat. They would buy in for as much as that guy was buying in. And when he left, they would be at the cage right behind him. And
Flies.
It was okay for a while. What? Yeah.
Flies was what me and Tango called them. They would. It's even worse than like you describe. They would tip the chip runners and the game runners the floor money so that they would put them on the list directly when that player would call in, and then when that player would go to the bathroom, they would sit out and wait for him to get out of the bathroom and sit back in the game, and then they would sit back in, and like that. I mean, it's almost obscene behavior.
It's pretty funny looking back. It's pretty funny, like all the stuff that went down. You're speaking of commerce, pretty much.
Correct. Right? Yeah, I'm speaking of commerce, and there were 3 or 4 guys that just it was just almost unbelievable behavior, short term thinking, and honestly, just really dumb behavior.
Yeah, super predatory, super gross. Well, now the VIPs have wisened up. They know not only can they tell someone to not seat change them, but they know they have a lot of power because they're the reason for the game. The pros just don't battle each other at high stakes anymore. They just don't.
And that's weird. That's weird to me too. Like, I remember in like the $1 million buy-in game where Doug sat out, and he said he sat out because I was promised there would be no pros, and there's like 2 pros at the table. It's like, dude, there's still like weak players here. Like, what are we like? This is what
Doug Polk?
Yeah.
I'm not sure he sat out. I think he may have been forced out.
Was he during the $1 million game where it was like him, Tom Dwan, Alan Keating?
Yeah, I think it was the opposite. I think Doug. I don't think Doug Polk has any like courage issues.
No, I don't think so either. It was just weird to me that I thought I remembered him saying I was promised there were no pros. Then there were pros, and that just struck me as like weird.
I think he was promised a seat 2 days and got to play once, got whacked. I believe. And then the second time, one of the super VIPs said, "Fuck that! I'm not playing with Doug Polk." But I could be wrong. But yeah, getting back to pros not battling each other, they just don't. They just there's better spots. They want to make money. It's more about the money than the competition.
Which, by the way, I want to commend you. Like, there were many of times where you battled just to battle. You played Garrett heads up with nobody watching, and for no reason, you just battled Garrett heads up. And so, like, I do remember, like, that courage that you had and thought, wow, like, look at Billy go. He just doesn't give a shit.
I don't. I'm always battling people heads up. I've battled so many people, and first of all, I love that. Like, at that point, occasionally I'm being a host, depending on who I'm playing. Like, occasionally I have to like do some soft shit, but usually if it's heads up, it's just like war, and that's fun for me. I don't have to talk too much. I don't have to like do a bunch of bullshit. Like, I get to actually just battle, and yeah, I love that. But full ring, we're not battling, man. It's just like, it's hard to battle full ring, right? Because you just gotta fold so many fucking hands.
It's a battle. It's just less close, less hand-to-hand combat, more long range.
Yeah.
Tell me about your relationship with poker. So, like, it's an interesting. You've had somewhat antagonistic relationship with poker, but your whole world is also poker at the same time.
my whole professional world revolves around poker.
Sure.
Um, yeah, my relationship is I've been in it too long. I've played too many hours. I If you talk to like pros and you ask them how many lifetime hours they have of live cash, like they're gonna say like 3,000, 5,000. I mean, I might be approaching like 50,000. So I've just spent too much time at the poker table to really love it. All I do love is having a good time if it's full ring, or like I said, if I do the occasional times I get to battle heads up and I don't like the other person's not going to quit unless they lose their money. I love that. I actually do love that. I love it. I love the psychological warfare and just the street poker. I love street poker, but yeah, I've played too much. You remember Lyman from 2+2 back in the day? He
Sure.
said it best. The poker is the best hobby and the worst occupation. And it can be a good occupation for a while. It was for me for a long time. But man, I've just played way too much. I'd much rather do content now and build something great and watch other people enjoy this great game than be in there looking at cards myself.
Yeah, it goes back and forth for me. I think I love the game. I think it's a beautiful game and it's a fun game. And there's a reason why, it's one of our national pastimes. It's a really fun game. It's deep, it's complex, it's psychological and mathematical, and there's always something new to learn. But yeah, I'll say it again, I love poker. I love what poker has given my life. My whole life is built on poker and around poker. All my best relationships, my best friends, I met my wife in poker. Like everything that I have, I can attribute in some way to poker in my life. And I'm very, very grateful. But, I took a year off a number of years ago because I got kind of burnt out and, just didn't really, I grinded too much. I got ground down. And the thing that I love now is coaching. I love helping people and facilitating the poker dream, right? The dream of like, I can play a game and make money. And that, I think I can spend almost an infinite amount of energy into right now. And I do because I love it. And so I don't know. I just think while Lyman is right for, I think a lot of people, there are people that just love playing poker. And like, that's just what they do. That gets them out of the bed in the morning and they just love doing it. And we're just all, we're all different, but yeah, like I don't think there's anything like inherently wrong with somebody like pursuing the poker dream, even today. I think that if that's what you're being compelled and drawn to do, then, go for it. And eventually if something changes, then yeah, you can adapt when that happens.
Yeah, like the judge told Mike McDermott or asked him, what choice? Like, no, if you're just drawn to it and you got to do it, do it. And yes, there are some people that just want to play great in the biggest public game and not deal with any of the bullshit and not soft play, not give up EV, and that's fine. That is an existence in the poker world. It's fine. I think the ceiling's kind of low for it, but if they manage their money well and they do other stuff, they're fine. The poker dream of rising to the top, then you need to start doing the other things I've been talking about. Like if you really want to make the money, you got to do other stuff.
It depends on your value, right?
Yeah.
Do you value competing at the highest level, or do you value making the most money?
Then you should play tournaments. That's where you see like I remember Chris Brewer playing a lot of cash games, and he's just he's trying so hard or whatever, and sure he's like a nice kid or whatever, but I think he like made a smart choice to go to tournaments. It's celebrated to play super well. Same with Brian Kim. Like these guys all used to be cash players, and if you want to like play very focused and very well, there's tournaments all over the place. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. What if you love cash games though, man?
Then you got to play the game.
People that love cash.
You got to play the game that's in front of you, Brad. Like the game that's in front of you is not play that hand perfectly. The game that's in front of you is make them want to play with you and play big with you. That's the game, right?
That's always been the game. That's
In
always.
in a tournament, it's play the hand.
I don't know. I mean,
and the ICM bullshit and all that. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I even think in tournaments that like people should just be decent reason. Like
That'd be nice.
Right. Like I think people should play fast. They shouldn't. I think even in tournaments they should be livened up. People should be having a good time in a tournament table. I know it's like pretty rare, but I did play a tournament like a year and a half or 2 years ago, and a guy busted. Like I busted him out, and he was sad that he busted, obviously, but he was more sad that he had to leave the table because we were all having so much fun. And I think like that sort of thing in tournaments, that would be a breath of fresh air.
You know what? That would be, and that's really cool because there's no real reward for just being chill at a tournament table and being fun. The only reward is, how you're feeling inside and like connecting with other people and passing the time in like a fun way. The reward in doing it in a cash game is right there. Like the game's just going to go another hour. Like
sure,
it's just it. So it's beautiful when it happens at a tournament. The beer round, or you got to give these guys credit. The guys that have been in the game forever, like Daniel Granu, that are talking to all the players and whatnot. That's cool. They're not getting anything out of it aside from feeling like they're doing the right thing. But in live cash, even if you don't feel good about it, like you need to do it for the game to keep going. So it's just like it's a strategy instead of just being a good human being.
And I would actually argue, as somebody that, and I think I have like a natural edge in just talking to people, because I think like I enjoy doing it. It's fun for me getting to know people. Like it's just something that gives me pleasure personally.
Right.
But yeah, like I would argue that there is something to get out of having fun with people in a tournament or talking to them and getting to know them, in that your experience is amplified, right? Like I had a fun time at that table. That was fun to me. Everybody's laughing. Like it was a good experience for me as well as everybody else. And there is value in having, as many good experiences in life as you can possibly have, and not just like putting on the AirPods and the hoodie and shutting down and taking 30 seconds to make every single decision and not engaging with anybody. Like so many interesting humans and colorful personalities and people that populate this world, that like, the biggest whales, the biggest VIPs, like they're not stupid people. They're brilliant humans who are wildly successful in life. And like some of my most pleasant memories of like commerce are just like getting to know Max more and hearing his story and like learning about like what he's been through and the stuff that he's done. Like I take a lot of value from that. And I think that like as an incentive to be cool in tournaments, like so many people have so much to offer. Like randomly chat up a dude in a tournament, he ends up being like the mayor in the town next to me, and like we laugh and talk about that, and I get to learn about him, and that's just an incentive for me. It feels good. Like, oh wow. Then I see him, at the next tournament, and I'm like, yo, what's up, mayor? How you doing? And we connect again. And I just think that building these relationships, which is something that I think you're good at and something that I'm pretty good at, there's just a lot of value, even if you never get anything from these relationships, monetarily speaking.
Yeah. So yeah, you learn. For me, it was, I went from grinder, just listening to music, just playing every hand as well as I could, to learning I needed to be social. I needed to connect with people. And it didn't take very long for me to realize it has to be genuine. Like I can't do the whole bullshit, like hanging out with someone I hate just because they're going to dust off 10K that night. It has to be like you find the common ground. Like, okay, what do we both like? Okay, let's do this thing. Or it has to be genuine, where you actually do care about the mayor's experience or sure, Max's story. If it's all bullshit, like that's not for me.
Well, everybody can see through that too. It's not. You're not. It
takes a while. You'd be surprised. A lot of people. It takes a long time to. There are so many operators in poker, big names. I don't want to say them, that are just stone cold operators. Every relationship is just to ladder up, and it's fucking gross, right?
Sure.
But it works for them because they trick people, and yeah, that's not for me or you, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess I was speaking more to like the more socially awkward people that are trying to like force it, and you're like, oh, well, that feels cringe.
Well, that's tough too. Is we talk about being social, and
Yeah,
it doesn't come naturally to everybody.
it's lucky, right? It's lucky that we're constructed biologically in the way that we are, and there some people aren't, and it's more difficult for them. And I feel bad for those folks that try but miss the mark.
Yeah, but and you can get better at it. I actually was very shy, like when I was younger, and like I don't know, socially awkward or socially anxious or whatever. And I just had to learn to like talk to people at some point. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you get, and the less effort you actually put into it, the better you are. Like if it's just chill, it's just like whatever's flowing. Like we're just like you're saying, you're trying to like get experiences out of life. So am I. I love connecting with people wherever I'm at. I just want to connect and like and find some common ground or find something that we both think is funny and just like be in that moment. And that can be learned in my experience.
Yeah, I think, I was shy too growing up, not super outgoing. And I think that actually like having a podcast like this, right, and talking to you or having a guest on and asking them questions is kind of a way to deflect attention from yourself and allow people to put attention on themselves and what they're going through. And I think that's kind of what happens in poker too, where the guy next to me, like, oh, what do you do for a living? Oh, that's really cool. Like, have you ever done this? Or, tell me more about that. Tell me more about your area of expertise. Like, if you could just be inquisitive to your fellow man and ask them questions, you don't need the attention is not on you. It's actually on them. And when it comes down to it, most people are really happy about talking about themselves and what they do and where they're an expert. And like, that's the skill set that I think you could cultivate at the poker table. Just ask them questions about their lives and what they do and be inquisitive and curious in a way where an authentic way, I guess.
Yeah. Be genuine. Be genuine.
Yeah. So what, you spoke about digging yourself into a hole. What happened?
Well, so I've never been very good at money management.
How come?
How come? I've always been self-destructive. So, and I didn't even realize it. I didn't even realize I was self-destructive until I hit a rock bottom 7 years ago. I didn't know it, man. I mean, I kind of would know it sometimes, like, like you're hungover and you just dust it off on 20K on the 49ers or whatever, and like, but that insight was very fleeting, and when I kind of hit a rock bottom, and I just I realized who I am. I am naturally self-destructive, and almost certainly due to a lot of childhood stuff. And it's just reality. There are the important years when you're very small, and they're called the important years for a reason. And if things don't go great, it can shape you, and it shaped me into someone that's naturally kind of self-destructive. So I'm also very generous. So when I was a poker pro, I was making a lot of money, and I was never saving a dollar. And anyone that needed fucking 5K, I would give them 5K. I wouldn't even, not even, like mostly family members, but sometimes friends. Oh, you need 10K for the holidays for your kids. What? Okay, here. So I just was self-destructive in that way, which I don't really regret too much, like, because I probably, made a lot of people's lives a little better. But then it just takes 1 year where you don't make what you expect to make. And if you're still spending what you expect to make, you go busto. And you actually, I think we met right after that happened the first time. And that happened to me in 2011. I still won, and I still won like a teacher's salary, but I was spending like a pro athlete, and that busted me. And then in 2012, I actually was on the grind at Commerce. You would see me like working out at 4 in the morning. Like I was, I
I
had to
did
make,
see you. Yes,
yeah,
that was during my time.
yeah, and so, and then it happened pretty quick that year that like I had a really good year, and I took the whole year off drinking 2012. So I was just so focused and like I was more social than back before when I was, a new pro. But I was very focused on winning, and you were allowed to be back then. And then 2013 to 2017 was kind of a 4 year spiral where I just I just I believe now that I was destined to hit a bottom, and when I did, all these like childhood memories that had been repressed started coming to the front of my mind and giving me a lot of shit to wrestle with on a personal level.
The Dark Night of the Soul.
Yeah, and so I've kind of been doing that for the last 7 years and documenting it in my podcast, and it gets pretty dark at times, but it's also inspirational to many, and it's solidarity for many that have gone through similar stuff. And
Have you
anyways,
made progress in dealing
yeah,
with the childhood
yeah,
trauma and being less self-destructive?
yes. So like the first thing is like you these memories come back, and then you're going to be like fighting them. Probably, I still am. Like I still see things from childhood that it's tough, right? Tough to wrestle with, but uh I definitely have, because the first thing I did was forgive myself, right? I like, you realize, oh, I haven't loved myself at all. That's why I am beating myself up as an adult, because no one else is going to do it, right? So I'm doing it. That's just like the weird human nature thing. And then
Why didn't you love yourself?
I think like when you're little, and someone can beat you up, and then when you get older, and then no one's going to do it because you're, 6'1" and whatnot, like you just do it to yourself subconsciously. And you have low self-esteem and whatnot. And then when you just realize all this, you have to forgive yourself, and you have to forgive everyone else. And then you start moving forward, like, okay, you have to catch yourself when you're starting to be self-destructive. And I do all the time, and having a podcast is great for me. It gives me insight into when I'm starting to cycle back down towards it, and I can kind of short circuit it. And yeah, so but I was borrowing. I always borrowed. I never kept like a bankroll, and I just borrowed and won and paid back. And then 2017, I had my only losing year, and I barely lost. But if winning like 60K or whatever in 2011 busted me, losing like 30K or whatever it was in 2017, that really busted me. And then I had so much to deal with. I have all this stuff to deal with on a personal level, and I needed to initiate a long overdue divorce. And I still have, pretty high monthly nut at the time. And I've called it impossible comeback, $250,000 in debt. All I've known is being a poker player. And like, I don't even trust the deck anymore. I'm sure, or I imagine you've gone through a stretch like this where you're just like, you just can't hold no matter what. Like you get in with the setting that's overpair, and you just know you're going to lose. And it just happens too many times in a row that it gets spooky. And that's kind of been what I've been trying to climb my way out of for the last 7 years. And I built a lot of cool stuff. I became a podcaster, and my podcast is now 7 years old, and still popular, and still a big part of my income. I just did whatever I could to keep my kids in their spot, and also trying to improve my life and chip away at debt. And that's how I went from a writer on 2+2 to a podcaster, and no one ever saw my face. I never wanted to be known. I don't crave any of that stuff. I prefer privacy. I prefer anonymity. And then even as a commentator, I got that, oh, I can make more money here, and it can help funnel people to my podcast. I still was the only one who didn't have their face up on the thing. I don't know. I just didn't want it. But then I realized a huge opportunity for me was playing on stream. Those games are that's the reason many people play on them. The games are just so good. And at that point, yeah, that's now you see my face way too much, especially in LA. It's like it's just plastered all over these two casinos, and yeah, it's my monthly nut has grown quite a bit, but things are going in the right direction. I have a lot of streams of income, and my new show might be the thing that gets me out finally.
I think it's great. I'm processing a lot right now. I may, this is my first kind of knowledge of like your childhood trauma and that type of thing. And I think the first thing that I would say is that I'm glad that your face is plastered all over LA, and the reason is that I think that you're a worthy human being, and I suspect, I'm not a psychologist, I only play one on YouTube, but my suspicion is like a lot of your self-destructive tendencies have to do with your own self-worth, and thinking of yourself, and potentially wanting to stay anonymous too, and like in the shadows, to where like could be something related to like your own self-worth and not wanting to put yourself out there because maybe you don't subconsciously believe that you should be at the front. And I would just say, like, I'm glad that you're plastered all over these casinos. Every experience that I've had with you has been positive for me in my poker career. I said it in an earlier show, but I'll say it again. The thing that really jump-started my poker career was because I reached out and asked you for a testimonial for a 2+2 coaching post that I made, probably 8 or 9 years ago. And I didn't actually know, like, you were just a dude, you were Billy from Commerce that I had a lot of fun with and that I liked as a human being. I didn't know you were like a 2+2 celebrity. And then when you commented, and by the way, commenting on a thing that like you personally, or have not been historically like pro poker coach. And you did it anyway, just because, as you said, you're a generous and good guy, who in my opinion has a lot of worth to our community. And we're really blessed to have you. And I really hope for, the podcast listener and the YouTuber that they check out your work and what you do, because you're a great human. And, I tend to be a humanist. I like a lot of people, and tend to believe in the good in people, but yeah, you just kind of show again and again and again that you offer a lot of things to the community, despite having, some contradictory beliefs to myself, which, by the way, this is what being a human is, right? Like, how
that's healthy, man. Yeah.
How boring would it be if everybody just believed the same thing about everything and had all the same opinions about everything, right?
Sure.
But yeah, I just, I'm happy for your success, and I was ecstatic when you got the gig at Hustler, doing the commentating and then running the games, because I just realized, like, wow, like that's a good person getting a good thing that will hopefully help improve their lives. And like, who doesn't want to celebrate that?
Well, those are incredibly kind words. You almost got me, man. You almost got me a little bit there. Like that's just very nice of you to say. So, yeah, I greatly appreciate it. And going back to when you asked for that testimonial, yeah, when you've already been through it as a poker pro, you kind of you just want to play, and you don't want the players to get better. That's a little selfish. But I also just knew it was a thing. It wasn't my philosophy, but it was many people's philosophy, and I've really made peace with that. I don't really struggle with poker training sites or coaches at all. The one thing I would love to see is someone really tackle the live cash thing, which is not a technical training. It's way beyond that. And I don't know. I don't have, I'm not a member of any training sites or anything. I don't know if anyone's doing that, but it just seems like a great opportunity, because I know so many players in LA that are technically fucking fantastic, and they're capped out at playing 5'10", 5'10", and maybe they just never have thought of it like, am I a great poker player because I play this hand great when some fucking assholes up there drinking 12 Coronas, spewing around and making 4x what I'm making, and it's just a choice. It's just whatever you want. But I would like to see. I think it'd be good for poker, and I think it'd be a great opportunity for one of the coaching entities to take on something that no one's really talking about. Like, how do you fucking make money in live cash? If it's tournaments, keep going with the X's and O's, of course. But
Or online cash too.
or online cash, yeah. But how do you make money in live cash? Like, is anyone really talking about the actual ways to do it and the right ways to do it, as you were talking, like being genuine and all that? So I'm glad I was able to help you, man.
Well, yeah, I appreciate it. And coaching has become like my life's pursuit, my life's goal. I aspire to be the best poker coach that I can possibly be, and you help facilitate that for me. And I was just saying in my last podcast that if I had infinite money, I would wake up and do the exact same things that I do today, except I would probably put my players in like really big games just so that they could play much bigger. That would be the different thing that I would do. But I would still coach the same people, dedicate the same amount of energy because it's what I love doing. I don't want to do anything else. I don't want. I'm like you. I don't actually want to like be famous or be at the forefront or be in the spotlight at all. I'm totally fine. I think that has to do with like some self-worth issues myself.
Maybe you're just humble, man.
I don't know. I'm a goddamn great poker coach. I'm not humble in that regard, and I'm really good at playing poker. But I don't really love the spotlight. I think if I loved the spotlight, I probably would have been drawn to tournaments more because they that's where you get the glory, right?
Yeah. The Poker Hall of Fame is all tournament players, which is cool. That's the cash is a different world
for sure.
I also love coaching, Brad. But not poker. My dream is to come up, finally get financially set, and then I want to coach basketball. Like, doesn't matter. Like, just women, men, I don't care. Like, I love coaching so much. I've coached my kids so many seasons, and yeah, like you, it's so rewarding. I'd rather have other people shine because of some things I'm doing. Like, it sounds like you feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, people that may not always believe they have what it takes to make it, and through your guidance and mentorship and you helping them and build their confidence and help build their skill set, like they get to do a thing that they didn't realize they could do or they were uncertain about it. And there's a real beauty in that. And it's a better feeling, I think, than anything I've ever felt as a player, playing at a technical high level or winning lots of money. I would much rather help somebody else win lots of money than win lots of money myself.
Yeah. I mean, but also you're older now. You're not old, but you're older. And maybe you forgot the joy of winning all that money, winning the 20K, 40K pots, whatnot.
It feels good. It feels really good. I'm not going to that feels really fun winning gigantic pots. I'm not going to lie.
It's a cool and natural progression. Like, you play and now you want to inspire others. And these people, after they play enough hours and get old enough and have so many other things going on in their real life, then they're going to want to mentor people. And it's just like a cool cycle.
Yeah, I love it. Well, man, it's been great. It's been great catching up. I'd love to, do it again. Hopefully not in 2.5 years.
Yeah, man, hit me up whenever. It's easy. I have a busy schedule, but I can always look on your calendar and find a spot.
Yeah, and as we close down, where can the Chasing Poker Greatness audience, find more, dive into the world of DGAF?
If they want to see some of the worst poker played on the planet, they should check out my new YouTube channel, DGAF's Live Poker Show. If they want my life story plus some session review plus interviews with a lot of big names in poker. You mentioned Garrett. I did interview Doug Polk, Matt Berkey, on and on. They can go to sessions. They can just search DGAF sessions anywhere that they get podcasts, and they can get a public drop a week just for subscribing. And then if they want to go to my Patreon, that's patreon.com/DGAF poker player, $4 a month. And then they can also get the private stuff once per week on an RSS feed. And that's occasionally heavy, sometimes beautiful, always hopefully real.
And I've been a patron for a number of years now, and I think I'm actually like maybe winning money as a patron. I don't know. I like randomly got sent money, even. I don't even know why.
Well, because you're at a very generous tier, and that tier has equity in the World Series Poker Main Event every year, and someone earned for you. I think it was Check Race Charles, if you know who that is. I think he earned for you, and you didn't even know it.
No, I had no idea. It was just like, where do I send this money? And I was like, wait, I won money this year by being a patron for Billy. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So those are the main spots. The YouTube channel, which is, it's a different, like your students would probably be, we don't have whole cards. So it's more the people that actually want to learn the skills it takes to make money in live cash, to go beyond the public ceiling. Then our channel is actually very good for that. It's cool, and it's evolving. We're getting better all the time. We're not even a year in, and we're putting up numbers, man. We're DIY. We bought our own cameras. We started with webcams and whatnot, and we get the second most views in LA. We're far behind Hustler Casino Live, but we get more views than the show at the Commerce, and they got a whole set. Yeah, we get like on a Sunday, we'll get like at least 2x what they get on one of their big shows.
Wow.
And we're DIY. We got one person on an iPad back there cutting cameras, hitting sound effects and shit. It's cool, man. It's we call it the people stream. 2-3 no limit up to 10-20-40 no limit.
Awesome, man. Yeah, check out DGAF's poker stream on YouTube and sessions. And again, it's always honor and a pleasure having you on and having these talks. And yeah, go be the number one stream in LA. Just keep battling. Get up there.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
May need to hire a second guy.
What's that?
May need to hire a second guy to overtake Hustler Casino Live.
Yeah. I mean, they're tough, but that's okay. We can coexist.
Yeah.
This is Chasing Poker Greatness with your host, Brad Wilson. Coach Brad approved. Are you a lone wolf searching for the ultimate pack? The CPG Wolf program is a close-knit brotherhood hell-bent on one thing only: chasing poker greatness. Powered by bleeding-edge wolf strats and led by Coach Brad and his lieutenants, CPG Wolves are systematically prepared for almost any spot they'll encounter on the green felt. If you want to plug into an elite team and have a step-by-step game plan to realize your full poker potential, you can apply at cpgwolves.com. Space is limited, and the pack is only as strong as its weakest member. So only the hungriest, grittiest, and most driven will be accepted into the program. Applications are open at cpgwolves.com.